They're not sending you. They're not sending you. They're sending people that have lots of problems, and they're bringing those problems with us. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists.
Whoa, 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 Donnie boy, enough of that. We're talking about empathy and prejudice reduction today. We humans do not exist in isolation. The main way we acquire our identities is by comparing ourselves to other people and to our environment. Through this system of checks and balances, we discover what is socially acceptable, and we form our self-concept. This is also part of how we form our group identities. Groups define themselves not only for their own characteristics, but also by what characteristics they promote themselves as not having. When there are groups that feel that their characteristics are superior or more valuable than in other groups, they can define themselves against those other groups. This is one way that prejudice can occur, and on a large scale, these things can result in institutional racism or genocide. Just by looking around the world, we can tell that the humans can be pretty bad sometimes, and social psychologists study these kinds of things with minimal group research. The basic way this kind of research works is within a laboratory setting, a participant is assigned to an arbitrary group, like A, B, or C, and then that participant is given a limited amount of a resource, like schmeckles, to distribute within those groups. What we find is people generally distribute more to the group that they were assigned, their in-group, than they do to the out-groups, the other various arbitrary groups in the system. Building on this, the specific conditions where we find group behavior that favors the in-group and discriminates against the out-group is when group identities are solid and the status of the groups is in flux. Going back to the intro video, it was taken from President Trump's campaign. He's talking about the relationship between Mexico and America. Nationally speaking, the identities of American and Mexican are stable. The cultural narrative that Mexicans are gaining status and power in America by taking jobs that Americans should have means that some people view the hierarchical in-group status of Americans as being challenged. This is a real-life example of how this psychological principle plays out. Intergroup conflict can be pretty rough stuff, so what do we even do about it? Luckily, most of the humans were born with an innate sense for how other people feel. We can use this empathy to reduce prejudice and help overcome conflict. Empathy has been used to help reduce implicit bias in judges, and to reduce prejudice towards immigrants and children. The research has shown that empathy can help people become less biased and reduce prejudice. So how can we use empathy to be better people in our daily lives? The basic way of how these interventions work is that you take yourself and you imagine yourself in someone else's shoes, and you imagine all the different characteristics that come with their life and the different contexts that they take part in. Now let's draw this all home and let's see what this would actually look like. Now imagine you are this red car right here, and you're making a right-hand turn into this lane at a red light, and there's someone in a car here that's making a U-turn at a green light. Now you both pull off at the same time, and this being a hard turn to make, they almost come into your lane and hit you. Now immediately right off the bat, you're gonna be angry. You're gonna be like, why did they almost hit me? This is ridiculous. They're such an awful driver. I can't believe that they would just come around here and try to hit my car like that. You would feel personally attacked and probably pretty mad. But if we take a minute before those thoughts occur to try to take that person's perspective and see like what could have been going on in their world, we can try to reduce some of these things. So when I immediately think of why do I make U-turns? Well, the only reason I ever do that is if I either had forgot something at home or I'm lost. And if I'm that person in the red car, and I think, wow, this person that's making a U-turn, they're probably either lost or really late. I hate being both of those things. You're probably going to reduce your anger and be able to see it from their view a little bit better. Just imagine what it would be like if everyone tried to take someone else's perspective before they had a knee-jerk emotional reaction. We could all just take a minute to think a problem through instead of causing more conflict and miscommunication. And we all have the capability to be an example in this by challenging ourselves to find who we consider to be an outgroup. Whether you're challenging your implicit bias or trying to take the perspective of someone who has done you wrong, we can all do a little bit more to add some good to the world.